Hey everybody, welcome to the Herd Fit Podcast with Dr. Sam Rhee and myself, Coach David Syvertsen. This podcast is aimed at helping anyone and everyone looking to enhance their healthy lifestyle through fitness, nutrition, and most importantly, mindset.
All right, welcome back to the Herd Fit Podcast. I am Coach David Syvertsen. I'm here with my co-host, Dr. and Coach Sam Rhee. Both just got done with our own little training sessions. Also, it's the day after Bison Bowl 8.
Or 13.
Not 13. Inside joke. I want to go right into a topic today that has been coming up several times in discussions, both when I'm around, both when I'm not around, about gym programming. And a lot of this discussion will center around CrossFit Bison, but it definitely can relate to any gym out there that outsources their programming, Mayhem, NC Fit, CrossFit.com, or it could really pertain to the gym that we are at right now. That's where a lot of our experience comes from. And the question is this: is your gym's programming too hard? And it's funny, I had a discussion yesterday after the Bison Bowl with someone that had recently come to our gym from another gym, and we talked about programming. And I told her, I was like, hey, we're going to talk about this actual topic that you and I are talking about right now, tomorrow when we record. And she said she's going to give it a listen. She's going to give me some stuff she agrees with, disagrees with, right? About the actual programming of a gym that she used to go to that was just way too hard all the time. And I'm going to admit this, I have fallen victim to that in the past of you always, as a programmer, you always want to make sure you have this pressure over your head 24/7, 365, literally, that the people that come to your gym are always getting a good workout in, because we don't have the same schedule. Everyone takes different rest days. They skip this day, they come in on that day. So it's really hard for us to program easy, medium, hard when it comes to intensity. Heavy, light, medium for everyone individually, because we don't know your schedule. You don't know your schedule. Sometimes you plan on going to the gym and you don't, or you didn't want to, right? And it's really hard to create a program for a lot of people, 350, 360 people now. And so I always used to go back to saying, hey, just make it really hard. And then, whether it's the volume, the intensity, the way you approach workouts with delivery at the whiteboard, which we're going to get into. And at the very least, at the end of the day, you can sleep at night knowing that the people that came to your gym worked really hard. They burned through a lot of calories. They're building strength. The problem is, if you just constantly do that 6 or even 7 days a week, a lot of gyms run classes 7 days per week, so their programming is 7 days. If you just keep throwing really high volume, really heavy weights, really high skills, yes, every individual workout is a good workout. But you compound that over time, especially with an older crowd, people start getting hurt, they get burnt out, and all of a sudden the program kind of sucks. So how does a gym, how does a programmer, how does a coach play around with how hard their programming should be? And I think before we get into that, we need to discuss, what is programming that's too hard? What is programming that's too easy? What is programming that's perfect? Sam?
Programming that is perfect it's like the Three Bears, right? Like it's very relative to everybody. And the first thing I wanted to say is I love that you decided to talk about this. I think it is a rabbit hole we can go down really deep, and it affects everybody.
Yeah.
Like, you go to the gym because of their programming. You go for their coaches, you go for the facility. But if the programming sucks, you're probably not going to stay at that gym. Mm-hmm. You could put up with one coach you might not like, or the music not being so awesome, or the facilities being, small or whatever.
Yep.
But
dirty.
Yeah. But if the programming is not good, you're going to go. And the first thing I will say is, as an athlete, I have a responsibility for myself. All right. I am not an idiot. Like, I do know I show up to, and I don't want to think too much about my programming when I come in. That's why I take CrossFit. I don't figure out my own plan or whatever.
Right.
But you yourself have to come in and figure out what's right for you as well. Mm. You have a responsibility. I have a responsibility. If I look at the RX weight and I'm like, there's no way I'm doing 135, I'm doing 105, that's great. The programming wasn't too hard. It was right for me.
Right.
So that's the first thing. But there are a lot of other things, the special sauce in programming that is important for the programmer. And I want to pick your brains on that a little bit today.
Absolutely.
Because, I'm sure you'll delve into the movement choices, like how you structure your week, month, year. Like those are the things that really tell you whether programming is too hard, too easy, or just right for you.
Yep. So yeah, and that's our little introduction to this topic, and we'll dive in. And I think the first thing, Sam kind of touched on it already, is this can be a touchy subject. And people can get offended in a conversation like this. And I really want you to try as hard as you can to not get offended about this. And me too. Because when I say being offended, the programmer and coach can get offended, right? Like every now and then I'll hear, and it's always dangerous when you hear like, oh, this person said, that person said, because you never really, that whole game of telephone, the gossip episode that we did, that always gets a little touchy. But there are times that I'll hear things about the workouts, the programming that someone said. And I do, like, my initial impression is like I get a little angry because it is almost always about the one person's bias. You good? Sam almost choked on his water. Down the wrong tube. We're good. Is that a Hartman verified bottle?
I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to change up my plastics a little bit here.
But so we're going to go down this path, but I want you as an athlete to understand that you have to remove your bias from what is a quality CrossFit program, because I think that's the first thing we need to talk about. What is a quality program for a CrossFit gym? Let's remove individual athletes. This is for a community, and you might not like pistols. Pistols need to be in programming. You might not be able to do muscle ups. They need to be in programming. I was with a few guys last night, and we talked about what would be the perfect CrossFit test. And we came up with 16 movements, right? And basically a 1 minute at every station, how many reps can you do? And there were some of the movements in there, I'm like, no way, I don't want to do that. But then there's others where I'm like, yes, I love that. You need to know as a CrossFitter that your bias can really control your opinion about a program. And you have to be able to control that.
You can't complain about any given day.
Right.
It's like the weather, okay? So, like, there are certain workouts, and I have complained to you. I was like,
absolutely,
this workout sucks. Like
I say it all the time.
It was, and listen, nobody is perfect about programming.
Yeah.
And so if any one particular workout isn't to your taste, your liking, or was not like as awesomely programmed as you thought it could have been, that's totally fine. But you have to look, you never look at a programmer based on a day, a week. You got to look at a month, like multiple months.
Yep.
So if you're going to complain, you better really know what it is that you're complaining about. And it's okay every so often. I'm not saying don't. Like I think programmers do well with feedback if they have a thick skin.
Yep.
And I've complained to Dave all the time. I complain every Sunday pretty much when I do the Thursday workout. I bitch at him and he takes it as, mostly constructive criticism.
Absolutely.
So that's okay.
Yep. So to me, what is the goal of a quality CrossFit program for a gym? The needs of your community, you need to know that. All right. Your community is not going to be like the one down the road. Your community will not be like the one 2 states away. This is why it is hard for people to program for other gyms. And we're trying to throw in our hat in that ring a little bit, trying to get some other gyms on our program. But I'll tell you what, I've gone back and forth in my head that if I don't see your gym, if I don't see your people, I don't know your people. And especially if I don't see scores and like how you guys record stuff and whatnot, you could be off pretty easily. You have to have a pulse on what's going on. And I do this all the time. Like I will, like what Sam was just saying, if I have someone in the morning, someone in the midday, someone at night, a good athlete, a new athlete, old athlete, veteran athlete, strong person, gymnast, if they're all kind of complaining about the same thing, being tired, shoulders are hurt, knees are banged up, legs are sore from, 2 days of row of squatting and lunging, I will tweak things for next week. I've done that a lot over the years where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take down the volume next week. I'm going to take down the loads next week. I'm going to put a bodybuilding day in this week because you're listening to people. If you are not in that community and you're not listening, you never get that. And that's where I think you can start going past the line of having your athletes do too much. So that's one thing. You have to know the needs of the people that are actually doing the workouts. And part of that is knowing who is there for sport / performance. I'm not even going to say competing, just who's there for like, hey, I'm trying to perform at a high level. I'm trying to get the most out of my body. Who's there for health? Who is there to simply just check that box? I want to live healthy. I want to live longer. I don't want to be beat up. I heard this yesterday at our Bison Bowl while teams were talking about the weights with the front squat and jerks, the strength event. And I heard someone say, like, dude, I just don't want to get hurt. like, what weights are you doing? That was his weight. His weight was, I don't want to get hurt. He didn't want to push to his max. And we have a 1 rep max day tomorrow, the back squat.
Oh, yeah.
The people that are for health, your body doesn't really care if you're squatting 225 or 155. Like, if it feels kind of heavy and you're working hard, you feel the activation, you don't need to go past that line. You don't need to find your max. If you're here for performance, you're here for competing, you're here to try to get the most out of yourself, then yeah, you're probably going to have to go push that boundary a little bit.
I want to say you have been building up to this. It wasn't like you're throwing this 1 rep max at us. Like, we've been working towards this for weeks and weeks now.
Yep. You did the first one. You coached that first one.
Yeah. And so, and they weren't singles. They were all like, the last one last week was a heavy 2.
Yep.
And then it was a heavy pause 2 before that.
Yep.
We were doing smaller set, like other sets before that. So this is where the programmer is mindful of the health and condition of the athlete. Like, I would never go for a heavy 1 rep if I hadn't done what we just did for the past couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
So let me pick your brain on that, what you just said. So about knowing your community. Compared to the average CrossFit community, what would you say Bison is like? Different, same as what you might think an average CrossFit gym is like?
So I would say CrossFit Bison as a community is probably top 3 to 5% in the world when it comes to the average level fitness of your entire gym. Maybe more biased towards, like, if you took the top 100 athletes in the gym, they're probably fitter than the top 100 athletes at 95% of the gyms around the world. Now, we don't have our top of the line athlete is not as good as a lot of gyms have, right? You could use that in the open. I don't think we had a single athlete that was ranked in the top 1,300 this year in the world. So that means there's 1,300 men and women out there that are better than every single person here. So on a competitive scale, on a performance scale. So I don't think we're not very top heavy, but when it comes to general fitness, I think that the gym is probably top 3 to 5% in the world.
And age group?
Age group, I would say top 1 to 2%.
I mean, sorry, like our demographic skewing.
Oh, sorry.
Age.
Our age group is an average of like 37 to 45. That's probably like the most of our members are in that window. We have a growing group of sub 35 athletes right now. And we have, I would say, a few dozen athletes that are above 45, 50.
Okay, so that's who you're programming towards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So like kind of like, honestly, my age is kind of like what I'm programming for that demographic.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, but you also, when you're programming, we just talked about health and performance and knowing your community. Rob Scherer reminds me of this a lot when we talk about programming. He goes, I want the workouts to be fun, and it's or like something that kind of like is mentally stimulating. Because to me, my version of fun is not necessarily everyone else's version of fun.
Yeah, you know what Rob's version of fun is? Hero Week.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's his version of fun.
Yeah. And sometimes, when you remove yourself from how you feel in the middle of a workout, and like let's say like that hour after the workout, you've already gone home, you've showered, you're eating, you look back on what you did with a community of people that you like being around, and like, you know what, we threw down today. That was a fun workout. That was a fun time. And that's been one thing I've always taken very serious is my life would be a lot easier if we just did like an AMRAP on Mondays, lifting on Tuesdays, for time on Wednesdays, shorter AMRAP on Thursdays, intervals on Fridays.
A lot of gyms do that.
And nothing against them, but to me, that brings up that what makes fitness industry a fad industry is that it gets old. It gets too repetitive. You know what to expect. You know how you're going to feel. To me, I almost never, throughout this back squat cycle and snatch cycle that we've just been on as a gym, we do not do it the same day every week. All right. Based on some other things, every now and then you'll get like a back-to-back Monday or back-to-back Tuesday. But pretty much we switch up what days we lift heavy for a lot of different reasons. But I want to keep people guessing. I want to keep people off that steady routine. Now, if you're a performance, competing coaches won't agree with that. They said you need to be in this routine. I don't agree with that. But I don't want to go down that hole. We can go down that hole another time. To me, I want to always keep it stimulating. And then you have to go down the creative path, right? You have to innovate and be open to new ideas, right? Let's talk about the two extremes. When we took this Hinshaw seminar and we got to interview him, we've started throwing in a little bit more pacing workouts, negative splits, active recovery, go for a walk, right? But we still do Fran. We still do Karen. We're doing Isabel this week. We're doing that old school. You have to find that blend of old school CrossFit, things that have worked, benchmark workouts that your gym has done. But you need to be open to these new ideas as smarter people start to get involved and offer their advice on programming.
I think a lot of smart programmers have done that. If you see even the competitors, that interval stuff, the recovery portion of it, like all that is playing a bigger and bigger role in terms of increasing the level of intensity for your athletes and their ability. And I can tell you so many times after we've done those types of workouts, I'm like, I could not have gone harder if you just didn't take out that built-in rest. In fact, I think I went a lot harder for that built-in rest, and I think I improved my ability because of that.
And that's part of like the programmer's obligation to educate yourself more and learn and try to learn new things, right? Like I, over the past few years, have taken the OPEX course. I've taken the aerobic capacity. I'm considering going down the level 3 train with my certifications over the next couple of years before my L2 expires. And you know, this is funny because I've been listening a lot to Austin Maliello, Don Fall. They've been making a lot of appearances on podcasts leading up to the games. We had them both first, by the way, here on the Herd Fit podcast.
We did.
But yeah, those actually, I did listen to Don Falls a couple times. I think you guys should go back and listen to those back from February when they were here for the announcement. We had them on. They were awesome enough to work out with us and then do an interview after. But one of the things that they're pushing, and it sounds like they're going to get aggressive with it at some point, is making CrossFit coaches get more education. Especially owners.
They said that before, and they said they're continuing to say that.
Like it almost seems like it's going to be a requirement that if you own a gym, you have to be L2, and then you're going to have to start pursuing your L3. Which is it's a lot of work.
You know, I kind of have mixed feelings about that. I feel like I want them. I told Don Fall straight to his face after the interview. I said, you should structure this just like you do for physicians. So physicians get licensed and you get your specialty board certification. And then you need X number of CME credits every year in order to maintain your certification. You don't have to, and then every 10 years you actually have to recert for your board, but they're actually changing that a little bit. But the long and the short of it is, why are they not making coaches and owners take X number of credits every year?
That's kind of what the level 3 is.
Yeah, but you know what? You don't have to do anything until between your L2 and L3 until you study for the L3.
Right.
Like you could sit there like a lump on a log. Why not make everyone do 20 credits? And so you might look and be like, oh, you know what? I'll take the kettlebell course. I'll take the nutrition course. I'll take the CrossFit Kids course. So every year you're kind of making them, and you can discount it if you want or incentivize it, but just like make them do more courses to help them. And then maybe the incentive is if you do enough of these courses by year 5, that kind of almost gets you to your L3. Maybe you take a short test and then you're there. Like how much incentive would that be? That's sort of what they're doing for us actually in our board is like, if you do X number of things every year, you don't have to recert after year 10.
Got it.
And so
that's forever?
For the next 10 years. So,
so
I think I want them to push more education for us on a yearly basis, because honestly, how many CrossFit courses have you taken in the past couple of years since you took your L2?
I mean, since L2,
other than the judges course or something like that,
just the master's course, the OPEX. I mean, from CrossFit only, just the master's course. But that was before my recert of my L2. So since then, I mean, I recerted my L2 last year. It was about 12 months ago. Actually 9 months ago. And I haven't done anything since.
So I feel like people should kind of get encouraged.
Yeah.
Whatever. That's just me. And
why are we talking about this, right? We go down the path of the programmer. When in most cases, the owner of the gym or the head coach, they're programming for your gym. If you're not pursuing these next level education experiences, you might start missing the boat on what you actually should be doing. Like I've learned so much more about programming and athletes, managing classes, logistics. That's a part of programming too. Over the past 9 years, that I would probably can go break down some programming from 2014, 2015 and be like, that's not right.
Honestly, though, a lot of new gym owners are just outsourcing their programming to another place.
Yep.
So how does that work in terms of fitting that into your gym?
I don't love it, but I do think it can work as long as there's a lot of communication. Now, if you just opened up a gym, and again, it's not hard to do right now. You can go get an L1 and open up a gym. All right. You might have no business programming workouts for people. Or honestly, you might not want to either. So what do? You go to NC Fit, you go to Mayhem, you go to, there's a lot now. Those are the two ones that really stick out in my head. And they have lesson plans written out for you.
Cap.
Sorry. Which is free now. They have lesson plans. They have logistic plans. They have scaling options. And it's a good template system. And I've been to gyms where they do one of those programs. And the coach literally will go up, read off a sheet of paper what the workout is.
I've been to gyms like that.
And there is not a lot of emotion behind that. And again, we're going to get into the coach's impact on the programming, not the guy that's programming, the guy or girl that's coaching the class, their impact on the programming in relation to the athletes. We'll get there. But sometimes when I see a gym that does this, it lacks personality. It lacks innovation. It lacks the awareness of the people that are in that room. And it takes a special coach to be able to take a workout, look at who they're coaching and be like, I'm probably going to switch this up. And I've seen that done too before, not completely wipe the workout clean, but like, hey, they can look around like there isn't a single person in this class that can do this workout, not one. So I'm going to have to change a few things up. That takes a very well-trained, experienced coach to do that.
I've seen that. I've seen them do programming where literally no one at the gym could RX it.
Yeah.
And everybody scaled it. And I'm like, probably didn't really work out so well.
So the variance in ability levels and goals, this is probably the biggest challenge to program for a gym, or if you're outsourcing your programming, right? Like let's say you're a new gym, you have 30 members, you have a couple good athletes, a couple beginners, and then everyone else is just kind of falls in like that. Hey, like I can, hold myself together. I'm an average CrossFitter, below average, whatever you want to call yourself, right? How do you program for people that have such different goals? We have people in this gym literally that say their goal is they want to compete at the CrossFit Games.
Yes.
We have some people here that don't know what the CrossFit Games are. They've been CrossFitting for 5 years. Kayla Simpson, I'm looking at you, by the way. I talked to her about the games and she goes, what games? I'm like, oh gosh, here we go.
She meets Don Falls like, who are you?
That's one of the best stories ever. But how do you do that? And then how can you relate someone else's programming that doesn't know your gym and then how do you have them all work out together? I don't like the concept of saying, hey, all my best athletes, you're going to go in the corner and do your own workout over there. Everyone else, you're over here in the front doing, 21-15-9 of ring rows and sit-ups. There's your workout for today. We want to keep everyone together because we think that the value there far outweighs someone getting individualized programming. So how do you do that? What are your thoughts on that, Sam? Because you've been here long enough, you're seasoned enough, you've been on both sides, you've wanted to compete and you really go after it. And now I feel like you're still in probably some of the best shape you've been in. Maybe you've lost a little bit of like top end strength skill, but you RX 90% of our workouts. So I would say you're one of the better athletes in the gym.
Thank you. I would say you're too generous. I would say I probably do maybe 3/4 to 80%.
Okay.
But I would say every day I look at it and your programming is such that you're programming for the top end, but that top end is close enough for a lot of pretty decent athletes that they're like, should I chase it today or not?
Right.
And that's why it's always so sneaky crazy because you're always looking to push us. If every day the programming that was handed down from Mayhem was like 185 pound overhead squats.
Yeah.
Like, what is even the incentive
from the floor
to go heavy when you're like, you know what, screw, I'm not even gonna try 135. I'll go 105 or 95 or less, and just, because every day you don't have something to chase.
Right.
That is the power of the RX.
Right.
And so every day I think about what it is that I can do, where my capacity is in the RX. And so when I first started, I was just scaling everything, and I just wanted to move better and learn how to do everything well. Then, and I still want to, but now it's also about like, what is my capacity on any given day? I have lost some capacity. There's no doubt. Like, I'm like 50, I'll be 54 this year. So, but I feel like I'm pushing myself because of the programming, not despite it, the programming. Whatever it is that you're doing every day, I'm doing it because of the programming. Even if I look at the workout and I'm like, I don't want to do this, I have no desire to do this, I know I'm going to do it because it's designed in a way to help me and not break me down. That's the other thing. Like, I look at some workouts that I've dropped in at other gyms. I'm like, you're going to hurt me. You're deliberately trying to hurt me.
Yeah. And
I have no intention of even trying that.
And you know why that is? CrossFitters, they like pain, and they're in a certain way, not injury. They like to feel like they're working hard. They like that muscle burn. They like the high heart rate working out. They do. Some say they don't. If you do CrossFit, there is some small part of you that likes that high intensity approach. All right. Yes, you might change. Things might change in your life that makes it a little bit harder. You still kind of like it. All right. And if you hate intensity, you're not going to do CrossFit. So that's why the programmer has such a fine line of making sure you don't fall into that trap of saying, you know what, no matter what, if I just make it 10 rounds instead of 5, everyone's going to get mangled. So everyone's going to say, yeah, that was a good workout. Might not have been good for me in the gym and what we're doing tomorrow and the day before. And that's why anyone can create a hard workout. Like Brock could probably create a really hard workout. My 3-year-old son, it's not hard to create a CrossFit workout. All of you can do it. The challenge is that if you are going to make them go really, really hard on 1 or 2 days, what are you doing after? What are you doing before? What did you do the weeks leading up to? All right. Hint, hint, we have Diane coming up in a few weeks. This is why we have some deadlifts around 205, 225, 255 coming up in workouts. That's why we're going upside down a few weeks. I'm not going to just throw it at you, right? There's always going to be some sort of like, hey guys, we're really going to go after Diane. We had 3 weeks of some upside down work for those that want to do that. Now we're really going to truly go after Diane, right? Isabel coming up on Friday, 30 snatches for time, 1 rep max snatch before, right? Been doing this for 8-9 weeks. So there's nothing wrong with these workouts individually, but if it's just like, hey, I'm just going to tell them to do as many reps as they can for 20 minutes. And yes, they're going to feel like on the ground, I did my job. CrossFit's really hard and intense. But Sam, who's a seasoned CrossFitter, who does pay attention to programming, does a lot of his own research, talks about it a lot, thinks about it a lot. He can get a good vibe if he drops in at a gym and says, you know what, you're just trying to inflict pain on everyone in this workout. And maybe you don't care about me that much. And this is where the coach comes into play.
Most WODs at a gym they're usually a 20-25 minute strength session, and then they'll throw in a 15-minute Metcon at the end. Like, I've seen that at so many places.
Very, very common.
And it just is unhelpful over time to do that. Like, any given day, like you said, is fine. Every day, that beats you down. Yeah. And you have to choose. Like, as an athlete, for example, the snatch cycle that you've been doing. Like, my shoulder hasn't been awesome, so I haven't been going heavy. I did see so you do release the programming
a week before,
which you didn't before
for a long time,
and now you do. And so that, I think, is a way that you're changing and adapting, because people can sort of help themselves with it if they use it right and not like cherry pick.
Right.
But I looked at that and I was like, ooh, I would love to do that. I'd love to do that. But I'm like, I haven't really been snatching well. My shoulder's not there. We've been working up to it. I don't think I'm going to do it. And I'm like dying inside, because I'm like, I really would love to try to do 30 snatches at 135. And I'm like, you know what? I'll get into 6 and my form will go to crap.
Right.
And I'm like, I know as much as prep as you've done. And I've seen also the experienced and beginner CrossFitters here talk about the snatch cycle. And some of them have bought into it. Some haven't.
Yep.
I just talked to
Snatch is always tricky.
Yeah, and that is okay. Like, listen, as a programmer, you're trying to program for the majority of the gym.
Right.
There's going to be a big minority that's not going to necessarily buy in for whatever reason.
Yep.
And that's okay. And if you're one of those guys but as long as you understand that your programmer is trying to help you with this,
right?
Like, I understand I've been working on my snatches. I'm just like, I'm working. It's not there. So I'm going to pass on Isabel this year.
Right.
But I understand what's been going on with
Right.
it, and you're not hurting me.
Right.
You've been helping me with it.
Right.
So that's okay.
Right. And this is where also the hurting and helping and the guidance, right? The coach. This is where there's another issue of outsourcing the programming. And again, it's not for everyone. There are solutions to this. I'll go over them. But the delivery of the WOD at the whiteboard has an enormous impact on how effective programming is for each individual. So if you're a coach, and we've talked about this like so many times on this podcast, if you don't have a coach up there that can look at the workout, get a little description from someone, whoever programmed it, and then be able to coach it to a wide variety of athletes. Like, think about the 6 a.m. class, because that's the class you're usually at, really a lot of variety in that class, right? Now I'm thinking about a 9:30 class, huge amount of variety in that class, right? Ages, backgrounds, goals, all right? You need to be able to have a talk at that whiteboard and get everyone on the same page with saying, hey, you guys don't need to be doing what's written behind me when it comes to weights, volume, intensity. You are going to do this workout, and you are going to try to get this stimulus out of the workout. Here are, reasons 1, 2, 3, and here is the route to get there for each one of those 1, 2, 3. And yes, sometimes those talks at the whiteboard can drag on a little bit. I still think it's the most important part of class. I just did beginners with this. I literally tell people that during my beginner sessions, don't be late, A, because it's a bad look, but B, you're going to miss out on some of the most important guidance you're going to get, especially if you're at a big class. Like if you go to a class of 26 and you're new, going to be honest with you, you're not going to get a lot of attention. And so if you don't listen to that whiteboard, if you're not there, or the coach doesn't do a good job of talking about the workout. So this is where, this is kind of a dual effort here. Coach, you need to understand the workout. If you don't understand, you need to ask questions. Programmer, you probably need to do a little extra guidance on not just, maybe in some cases, more than a few sentences. You might need to text the coach. We do this a lot. I'm going to be texting the coaches about tomorrow's workout, 1 rep max back squat, for safety reasons, but really I want them to be on the same page with something. And I'll do that. We did that with the Thursday workout. You and I talked about this past one, push press sumo row burpee, like the bloodbath workout of the week, right? The hardest workout of the week.
Last week.
There was a lot of talk that went into that. Like, hey, if they can't do XYZ, they need to change it. Hey, if they can't do this in 5 at a time, they have to change it. If they can't do the row in this, they have to change it. And that's where if a coach ignores that at the whiteboard, that's where I think a program can lose a lot of effectiveness.
I think one of the things that is your ability to program well is one, you take that feedback and you work with the coaches very carefully. I bug you all the time before,
but I love it.
Before coaching.
I love it.
I give you a lot of feedback. That's why I do the work. I don't do them because I
want to work out by yourself.
Yeah. No, on Sundays, but I know as a coach, I'm better for it if I have gone through it, and that's why it is really important. I want my athletes to listen to what I say on Thursdays when I give that workout. I was like, dude, get through the 15 push presses as fast as you can, unbroken as much as you can, because that's not where the interference is. The interference is all in the sumos because of the row.
Yep.
And
hard row.
Because of a hard row. And the people who listened or heard that, like Aaron was like, dude, it was all about the push presses. If you can give your athletes some guidance into it, that is invaluable in terms of increasing their level of performance. The other thing is you eat your own dog food. You actually do, if you're a programmer and you don't do your own programming, you will lose out tremendously on being a better programmer.
I agree.
I see you do your WODs all the time. You did that awful one
by myself after a back squat day at 215 on a hot day. That workout, and guys, that was a bloodbath workout. And for those that don't know the Bison program, I'm going to tell you the workout real quick because I want to relate this to hard programming, not hard programming. The workout was 4 sets. You work out for 3 minutes, you rest for 3 minutes. All right, and here's the work. 20 cal row for guys, 16 for ladies. 15 push press, 15 sumo deadlifts, 95 for guys, 65 for girls. And then whatever time you have left over in those 3 minutes, you do as many burpees to target as possible. And your score is how many burpees you get. Now, there's other elements to that workout and programming that I love to do that I don't want to talk about. But that workout is not hard. All right? Rowing is not hard. Push press at light to medium weight is not hard. Sumo deadlift high pulls are not hard. We're not talking about high skill. There's no high weight. It was all about your intensity. If you went as balls out, and I told Sam, that was the hardest I've gone on a workout, probably in months, I would say. All right. And I didn't recover for 2-3 hours after. I was smoked. And a lot of other people were. Why? You went hard. You went fast. You rode really hard. You got to the barbell. You went to unbroken. You went to the burpee. Your first set, you crushed, right? You got 22 burpees on the first
20,
set.
yeah.
20 burpees on your first set. And then let's not talk about the rest.
No, I will. No, so this is one where you look at it on paper and you're like, okay, I can do 20 cal row, 15 push press at 95, and 15 sumos at 15. And then I should have time to do burpees in the remaining 3 minutes. So I went ham. I had like a minute plus for the burpees. I got 20. And then I fell apart. I got 2 on the second round, 0 on the third, 2 on the fourth. And I was dead. And I was like, 3 minutes should be enough time to recover. This is where you feel the workout, you're doing it, and it's complete. Like, you can't tell exactly what it's going to look like on paper.
Like, if that workout was 155 push press and 155 sumos, and, you know, I would understand that's probably a little too hard, too heavy. Can't do it. But that workout, it goes to show that was the hardest workout of the week last week.
Lightest weight, like 95 pounds, 65 pounds. Like, almost everyone could do a couple of the push press and sumos at that. But can you do 15
fast
with intensity 4 times after a row and then try to hit burpees to target? Like, now you're talking about something different.
And you know what makes it hard is everyone in the room's going hard. So it and you love it, right? The music's loud, the energy's great, and everyone's going balls out, which is fun. It's so much fun to be in that environment. That's what I mean by CrossFitters love pain in a way. Like it hurts to do that with a lot of people, but you know, you don't want to be the one person that's dog it, and you just go, fuck it, I'm going to go for it. That workout is not hard though. Like, if you were like, hey man, I don't feel like going hard today, but like, all right, take 2 minutes on the rower, and then, you know, do 10 push press, 10 sumos, and don't do any burpees. You don't tell me that's a hard workout. It's not.
And I should have scaled it, honestly, because like 95 was a little rough. I shouldn't have gotten 0 on the third. Like,
if you weren't by yourself, you wouldn't have.
Maybe, but if I had scaled to 75, it still would have been a kick-ass workout for me, and I would have done just fine. And a lot of people scaled and killed themselves and did awesome on it. So that's one where the programmer had a lot to do with it. The coaching had some to do with it.
And the athlete
had some to do with it.
So let's get into the athlete side of this. Yeah. Right? I want to talk about this from the athlete perspective because I just talked about the programmer. They have to challenge themselves, educate themselves, be aware of the gym, you know, eat your own food, do your own, do the workouts. Coaches, huge responsibility. You should feel pressure every time you explain a workout. Every single time. Okay. Athletes, though, you are a huge part of this too. And there's a lot of like looking in the mirror that you're going to have to do. And I'm going to talk about that. But I want you to understand that your bias cannot control your view of someone else's programming. Here's an example. If you've lost touch with how often you work out, how hard you want to go, you know, you don't cross it that much anymore. Life got in the way, and it's not even like a bad thing. Work gets in the way. Family gets in the way. If that is you, it's okay. But you also need to understand that if you do lose some fitness, the workouts are going to feel harder, especially in a gym that is kind of pushing the needle as the community gets fitter and fitter. So you're talking about 2 subjects that are going in opposite directions. Programming slowly getting a little tougher. You slowly losing some fitness. Now you put those 2 together and the gap is huge because they're moving in opposite directions at the same time. And I think before you have an opinion and want to share it, you need to look in the mirror first and be like, Yeah, I used to go 5-6 days a week. I'm there 1 or 2 days a week. Well, no shit, it's harder, right? That should be obvious. I think one thing as an athlete you can do, other than realizing that bias, is understand that there's plans throughout the year. And right now we are in the middle of a back squat snatch cycle. Then we have a front squat push press cycle. We have some more skills coming our way August into September. All right. And it's a lot of kind of stuff that's hard. In the fall, though, and we've done this for a lot of falls in a row now, I think 3 in a row, we slow it down a notch and do a lot of strength work. Workouts are shorter, volume is lower, but the loads are heavier. And we always do that throughout the fall, November, December. All right. Once January hits, we see the open at the end of the tunnel. Everyone's on the healthy train. We start pushing the high intensity again. If you know that, you should almost accept that June, July, August, and part of September, they're going to be tough. And it's okay to go through these tough cycles throughout the year, knowing what's coming up next. What are your thoughts on that?
That is exactly what every gym should be doing. Because if you are a CrossFit gym, you should be gearing towards touch points of the year. And every gym's touch point, honestly, should be the open.
100%.
And so you see what competitive athletes do. This is sort of mirroring what most competitive athletes do during their season. Okay. So why wouldn't you want your gym to program just like they would for a competitive athlete? Even if you're just doing it for fitness, like just for fun, for health, like they should be doing this.
Right.
And why wouldn't you mimic that? And so everything that you've done every year, that sort of thematic sort of flow and progression, like it makes complete and total sense.
Right.
Like, why wouldn't you do that? And I think if you're a programmer out there, you need to be able to position your pieces for what you want to do in exactly that way.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little different in terms of execution for your gym,
right?
But you should be thinking that way.
And again, not everyone is on this training lifestyle, this training cycle, and we will. Like when I say we're doing more strength work in the fall, a little less volume, yes, that's always the case. Yeah, every now and then we're going to throw in a 10-round workout with 350 reps and it's going to beat you up. But we do that a lot more right now than we do. And it's also a lot of running and pounding on the joints, all that good stuff. But here's another thing that I think you guys can look at. If you think your gym's programming is too hard, and we just said you need to remove your bias. I have a rule for myself on average. It's like a 30-70 rule that if under 30% of your gym is RXing the workouts on an average basis, general day to day, then you could start making the argument that it need to tone it back a little bit. So
interesting.
I come in on the whiteboard and I'm looking at it and everyone's like, whose score are you looking at? I'm like, nobody's. I'm looking at how many RXs I see up there under the cap. All right, I hit that stimulus. How many people could do this weight? Oh, it's almost half the gym did it. All right, I should probably make it a little heavier. Because my philosophy on programming is that you take an individual workout, not your overall best athletes. That particular workout, can you get your best athletes at that movement, at that kind of workout to RX this and hit this stimulus? So if we wanted to go on a heavy, let's say heavy DT, everyone knows what DT is, right? 5 rounds, 12 deads, 9 hand cleans, 6 overheads, 155, 105. Let's say we want to do a heavy DT and we put a 15-minute cap on it. All right. And I would probably, for this gym, off the top of my head, without thinking too much about it, I think I could do that at 185, 125. And our lifters, all of them, over 30% of them, would get that done in well under 15 minutes. Some could probably go sub 10 on that.
Yep.
And
scary.
But what would Rich Froning do with CrossFit Mayhem? Just guessing out there, it'd probably be 205 or 225.
Yeah.
I don't think 5 people in this gym could do this under 15 minutes at 225. Alex is pissed.
He's like, let me show
Alex,
you.
You're one of them, okay? I don't think I couldn't. Maybe Boke. I couldn't. I don't think I could do that in under 15 minutes at 225. And it would hurt so bad. But this is what I'm talking about.
Sabrina
for sure. She could probably do 225.
Right, not the skill, not the women's weight.
Women's weight.
Yeah.
But if you look at the whiteboard, and again, this takes the responsibility of the athlete, remove your score out, take it out. look at the whiteboard and see, okay, there was 47 people that RX this workout and the 170 came to the gym. All right. You're kind of like right on that line. It's like, all right, we're in a good spot. If you have 150, let's keep the math easy. Let's say you have 100 people come to your gym and 9 of them RX it, workout was probably a little too tough. But every now and then that's still okay to throw one of those out there. Let's talk about Mary. Let's take the weights out of it for you gymnasts. All right. Mary's an AMRAP 20, 5 handstand push-ups, 10 pistols, 15 pull-ups. Awful workout. All right. How many athletes in this gym could RX that? It comes down to mostly the pistols.
Yeah.
Can they do pistols? And then, yes, can they go upside down and do some handstand push-ups?
Right.
I think well over 30%.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
So that workout should be programmed, and like I hate it. I personally hate it. If I came to CrossFit whatever down the road and I'm dropping in, I can make the case, I can't believe they're making people do it. This is way too hard.
Yeah.
Why do I think it's too hard? Because I suck at pistols. That's why. So I don't really have a valid opinion. So I should never express that opinion to anybody.
Ben Bergeron would say never program pistols or handstand push-ups for your general gym.
Yeah. And that's another discussion. Is the movement unsafe for people? And trust me, I don't know if you've noticed this. We've gone upside down less, but we're never going to stop going upside down. We don't do a lot of pistols, but I don't think we're ever going to get to a point where we don't do pistols.
Yeah.
Because I would hate for them to be in the open and I never program.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be a bad job by me.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are some people, I don't know if I'm ever going to go back into the pistol train. I really don't. With my left knee. My right knee, I'm fine on them. But that's a personal decision. But I can't make decisions based on myself. Like that, do you guys not see? Like that's just selfish for you to be like, hey, this is too hard because I can't do it. Like you can just be humble enough to be like, hey man, like I ain't good at that stuff. So I'm just going to kind of remove myself from that opinion.
You have to take yourself out of it because especially the athletes who've been around, they're like, you know what? Why is it so much harder than it was in 2018?
Yeah.
Well, you know why?
I'll give you 3 reasons. You're not going to like them either.
I mean, if you look at the average Fran time for everybody, it's gone down tremendously.
Right.
Like you can't program for 2018. Like this is not the 2018 world anymore.
Right.
And I'm not maybe as fit as I was in 2018, so I'm just going to have to accept that.
Right. And it's okay. And this is where I think we're going to have a future podcast coming up. I might ask one of our coaches to come on that we've talked about with whole like RX scaled, RX plus, all this stuff, like different levels of every workout, because I understand.
Does it suck if you're a beginner too and starting now as opposed to 2018 and learning? Like it does kind of suck because the workouts look so much more daunting, but you know what? That's okay. Like you're just on your own path, doing your own thing.
Yep.
It wouldn't matter back then when I started if RX was whatever because I was never RXing it anyway. It could have been 300 pounds. I still would have scaled anyway.
And I empathize. I do. I promise I do. With the athletes, especially here at Bison, that, I'm looking back at that old Bison Bowl picture from 2015. And then I went down memory lane a few times last week, 2016, 17, 18, 19. How much our lives have changed. So many people in those pictures, kids, jobs, fitness levels, blah, 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 right? It does hit the ego a little bit that you used to be, I hate saying this, one of the best.
Yeah, fire-breathing monster.
Yeah, you can RX everything.
Yeah.
Stuff happens. Things have changed. It's a slow death. It happened. It doesn't happen like that. Just really slowly happens. All of a sudden, we're looking at 2023 and you can't do it anymore. And I do empathize that it can hurt the feelings a little bit. And this is not a place where we want people to have their feelings hurt. This place should build you up. But there's also this mindset that I have, like participation trophies suck. Like that whole side of me where I'm like, you got to suck it up and be an adult about this and understand and be an example for the new people in this gym. So scaling workouts is not bad. You need to understand that. And this is not a catchy phrase that a coach likes to say. It is legitimately, credibly not a bad thing to scale the workout. What is a bad thing is that you pursuing something that you shouldn't be pursuing and getting hurt. That's bad. That would be a bad decision. So if you're ever kind of like looking at a whiteboard and be like, is this too hard? Is this too easy? Take yourself out, A, and B, count how many people RX the workout. And if you find that window, 30% or above, it's fine. If you see like 20%, 15%, let me know. Because if that happens a lot, then it's a problem. If it happens every now and then because the coach is trying to put out like a games workout, a quarterfinal workout, prepping the gym for a qualifier, then it's okay for it to occasionally happen. Just like it's occasionally okay for it to happen that 85% of your gym will RX it. That happens too. To me, if that happens, that's probably a little too easy. Like if you're above 70% of your gym RXing every workout, I think that's too easy. And I'm going to get into something else. What do you think about that?
I agree 1,000%. I mean, there are differences. Like I would listen when people say programming is too hard. I listen to what it is about the hardness.
Right.
If it's because you're not RXing enough of these workouts, then I will turn my brain off and not listen to you because that is irrelevant.
Right.
But if you're complaining because you did front squats one day and then you're doing overhead squats another day and then the third day you're doing heavy thrusters,
that's a huge thing.
That's a problem. Now the programming is too hard. That is the issue you need to focus on as an athlete.
I would even say too repetitive, like not a good program. Like it might not be too hard. It just, I would even say that's an irresponsible program.
Right. So that's where I listen to people carefully.
That's true.
But not because, you know what, I can't RX any of these things anymore.
I had someone new say like, man, like you're killing our shoulders. And I was like, fuck. And so I was like, am I? And one day we had push-ups. 2 days later we had push press. And I think we had a front squat. The day he goes, yeah, holding a front squat hurts my shoulder. I'm like, all right, well, no offense, that's not a shoulder workout. It's, or I think it was a back squat, obviously. Holding a back squat hurts his shoulder because he's tight. And I'm like, I didn't say it to him. He's like brand new. And I was just like, in my head, I'm like, those are the opinions. Like, man, Dave's really hurting our shoulders. I'm like, you did some push-ups, you did some light push press, and you did some back squats. Like over the course of 3 days, it's not too intense. But if we did heavy jerks, strict handstand push-ups, and handstand holds 3 days in a row, I will take all the criticism in the world. And I've done that before. I will admit that to you. I have overloaded certain movement patterns in a week. I will admit that. And I'm very cognizant of it. And I'm not going to guarantee that I won't make that mistake. And that's where I want the feedback. Hey, Dave, like I'm really beat up. Like my Achilles, man, box jumps, double unders, and running back-to-back days. Like, I'm like, yeah, like that, like, can we talk about scaling or hey, maybe I should have spread that run day out a little bit. So we're almost going to wrap this up, but I want to throw this idea at the athletes that think it's too hard. Let's even talk about Bison. Majority of our listeners are from here. I've been considering this for a while, probably in the fall, of making things tougher here.
See what you guys did. Whatever listener complained about being too hard, now you've done it. You've done it.
This came up again last night, not from me. I was listening about the programming. And we've gotten to a point with the Bison Bowl where you have to be, it's no complaints. It's tough to program because just varying levels in RX and scaled. You have to make sure it's a good experience for everyone. It's not it's more fun than it is competition. If it was more competition than fun, I wouldn't care about making it too hard. I'd be like, yep, you got screwed. Too bad. Try harder next year. But I don't want to be like that for the Bison Bowl. But for the gym programming, I think off the top of my head, there are probably 40 people in our gym that could handle more.
Sure.
When I say more, I mean not extra programming. I mean slightly heavier barbells, slightly more volume, slightly more advanced skills within a workout. Here's an example. Ring muscle ups. Don't program them that often. I've been programming them more over the past year and a half than I did for about a 3-year stretch. There's a lot of people in our gym that could do them. On the top of my head, I want to say there's about 40 people.
Yeah.
I really almost always keep the volume pretty low in them.
Yes.
So that's a 1, 2, or 3.
Yep.
Rarely do you see me go more than that. We just recently did that up and down ladder workout. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, back and forth, right?
Yeah.
I think at least half of those people that have the muscle up can handle workouts with 4 or 5 at a time. It depends what you put it with and how long the workout is. That's what I mean by making it harder. I think a lot of our lifting workouts, barbells, I usually, a heavy hang clean workout in our gym is 165 plus. Yeah. I think there's a lot of athletes so I should say the girls' weights too, 165, 115. I think there's a lot of athletes in our gym that can turn that into 185, 125. Maybe even 205, 135. Again, 3 to 4 reps at a time.
That's mayhem level program.
Yeah, right. Now, should I ignore the fact that there's 40 people that can do that and leave it up to them to go heavier? Should I push the needle for the gym's programming and do what we've done for almost 10 years now and just watch the gym get fitter because of those things have gotten harder? If I do that, it might turn more people into that mode of, man, this is too hard. This is too heavy for me. Hey, I used to be able to do it. I can't do it anymore. I don't train like I used to. I'm not going to make the programming easier at Bison. I'm not going to do it. it'll either stay where it's at or it'll probably get about 10% heavier.
I am okay with it if I believe that you are scaling to 30% of the gym RXing it.
Right.
And if that is the case, you need to do that, then you should do it.
Yep.
You should go heavier. You should have more reps in there. I know I'm going to be sliding back because for me, like, for example, 165 is sort of where I'm kind of at. Like, depends on how many reps or whatever it is. We just did one hang squat clean with 5 reps at once. I did 165.
You got to pick.
I got to pick, and I did 165.
And I like that. Like, I like doing that too. It's like, hey guys, you choose.
A lot of people went faster and quicker.
And 135 was the predominant RX. And you're not one of the biggest lifters in the gym. You actually had one of the heaviest barbells of the day. In that workout.
It's one of those tricks you do in a workout, right? So if you know you can't go fast, go heavy and it looks better. That is such a lift trick that.
Oh, that's a RX. So I went RX plus today. That really, I just want an excuse to go slow.
I follow some of the big lifters with that one. Like, so
we're on to you guys.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think I got to take my ego out of it. Like, would I love to RX as many workouts as I can? Absolutely. It's, you know why? Because it's easier for me to compare myself to others on the whiteboard.
Right.
When I put C-scaled, it's hard for me to know where I'm sitting compared to other people.
Yep.
But you know what? That's okay.
And here we can wrap this up with this question. This could probably be a topic. Should programming have levels? So level 3.
Oh, a lot of subscribe programming does that for you. Like Cap and Mayhem and all those guys will do that. 1, 2, 3.
Without planning or thinking about this too much, it's like level 3 would be your quote competitor
elite,
RX.
Yeah.
Elite, yeah. I mean, elite's such a subjective word. Like, we don't have any elite athletes in this gym if you're going to talk about games athletes. So nobody in this gym could be on that doing that,
Tracy,
right?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Level 2 would be like what Bison RX is now. Level 1 would be a scaled version of that. And then what you would do is you could record level 3 RX, level 2 RX, level 1 RX. Now, the question is obvious, right? What if you have a gymnast that can't lift or a lifter that can't do gymnastics and the workout has both? What is it? Like, they didn't do level 3. That would be, to me, that would be level 3 scaled, level 3 RX, level 2 scaled, level 3 RX, level 1 RX. And, it can go down so many different paths of volume. Like, I think volume is something that should be scaled more. Like, hey guys, like, Thursday's workout.
Oh, we've talked about this.
Thursday's workout has 21 wall balls on it. And again, it's hard to scale volume because like there's a sequence to the math and it helps people remember. But Sam just did a workout on Thursday. It's got 21 wall balls. Let's say that's level 2 RX. Level 3 would be 28 wall balls. And level 1 would be 15 wall balls. And the stimulus we're going for is 1 or 2 sets every time you're there. And like that could open up the door to more people feeling that they are pursuing an RX. Even though level 3 RX would be out of reach for almost, let's say 85% of the gym.
Oh, I see.
So like there's RX under all of those, right? We would we would just write on a whiteboard, 3 RX, 3 scaled. So that means like, hey, I was able to RX level 3 weight, but I had to scale something else. It's really complex.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like there's something to it that might help, but that's very complicated.
It is complicated, and I think it would take time to find like a really objective, clear-cut system that everyone understands. And again, part of programming that some people say is hard here at Bison is that the workouts are complicated. Like they just always want to come in and do 5 rounds of 10 reps of 3 different movements and go home, right? And sometimes you do workouts like that, but I don't want to go too specific into that because that's more about logistics and class sizes in the morning. We have to do things a certain way, but that would cause some confusion. And I don't want people to come here and be like, oh, I have to think so much now. But my sell on it would be, hey, Bison RX is level 2, guys. Mm-hmm. That's the level 2. So if that's your goal, or you want to step below RX, hey, I used to be RX, but I can't do this anymore. Hey, level 1 is for you. Level 1, I wouldn't even call it like a scaled version. It's level 1. It's just a little lighter, so you don't go home and get beat up about not RXing. But I still think it would create some issues of, I'm never going to be level 3. But it might ease some of the anxiety people have or the self-doubt that they have that stems from, I can't RX anything anymore. Well, no, you're just not level 3. That's for the people that really are pushing here 4 or 5 days a week, doing extra work, competing, all that stuff.
I mean, there's something to this that merits more discussion, especially because now it's different. It's now 360 people. Like,
Right.
you have to kind of help fine line it a little bit. It was different when you only had like 50 people.
So easy.
And now it's something to talk about.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening. I hope you guys got something out of it. I just want to wrap up with, I don't ever want to come across as this hard-ass programmer that just says, like, get fitter or don't complain. I put as much self-critique into programming for a gym, and I know a lot of others do too. It's probably the thing I think about the most when it comes to the gym. I'm not going down the path of just trying to crush everyone and make everyone as fit as possible, but I am trying to find that happy medium of, I want you to have fun, get experience. And yeah, I do want to make you uncomfortable at times and make sure that you're pursuing fitness, because when you stop pursuing fitness, it's a slow death. And at some point, 2-3 years down the road, you have a lot of regrets. So I think that you have to trust, if you don't trust the programmer, I think there's nothing wrong with asking questions. But if you have an opinion about it, strong or weak, positive or negative, you should understand that your personal bias might have a really significant impact over what you're actually saying and thinking about it. And it takes a really mature individual to be able to remove yourself from that equation. All right. Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to listen to the Herd Fit podcast. Be on the lookout for next week's episode.